Episode 7 of Star Trek Picard has aired, and wow, this one was a torpedo straight to the field for many reasons. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. Today we're talking about Star Trek Picard Episode 7 titled Nepenthe. This episode saw Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis return to the iconic roles of William T. Riker and Deanna Troi. This reunion is one that ourselves and many other Trekkies have been looking forward to, so of course, it hits us right in the feels. As a reminder, this video will contain spoilers for Picard Episode 7, therefore to avoid being spoiled, you might not want to watch this. If you're new around here, then we'd kindly ask you to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. We've also recently enabled YouTube memberships on the channel, so feel free to check out the join button down below. Alright, time to warp into Episode 7. Now, Episode 6 of Picard built up and pushed the story of the series forward even more at a very quick pace. Meanwhile, Episode 7 still pushes the story forward in some aspects, but more takes advantage to deliver some very emotional moments to us viewers. Starting off in this episode, we do get more information and a reveal of what's actually going on with Dr. Jarate. We see that Commodore O did indeed mind meld with her about 3 weeks ago and showed her what synthetics could potentially do to the galaxy if they are left to exist. Breaking down the cinematic scenes here, we see multiple explosions on planets, in cities, and also the destruction of an entire planet. How this relates to synthetic life is currently unknown, but given Commodore O is involved with Telshia and Zhat Vash, they obviously know something is up. My question is, whether the possible future that O showed Jarate is real or fabricated to get a point across. Even Narissa mentions to Hugh that his actions in freeing Soji and Picard from a wrath have doomed 500 billion souls across the galaxy. So something is certainly going on with synthetics right about now. In this episode, we also see Jarate coming to terms with what she's actually done. While not revealing it to Rios and Raffi aboard La Serena, it's clearly having a heavy emotional toll on her, and rightly so. To the extent that she does actually put herself into a coma to escape. I do love the EMH's reaction of, oh bloody hell, to her slipping into a coma. I think my reaction to this would contain a lot more swearing if I'm honest. It's unclear how this proceeds from here, as Jarate's character is becoming very hard to predict if it wasn't so already. She knows what she's done, and Commodore O with her Zhat Vash agents are following and listening to her every move. I think Episode 8 is going to introduce us more to the Zhat Vash mystery. We still haven't learnt more about the overall conspiracy storyline, as well as this mysterious Conclave 8 phrases that have been mentioned a few times so far. Either way, we'll need to wait and see. If you have any thoughts on this part of the story, be sure to let us know via the comment section below. As for me, it's certainly interesting so far. Moving forward to the planet of Nepenthe, Picard and Soji's arrival on the planet is a graceful one. At least no one was immediately shooting them for a change, though Kestra does hold a bow and arrow to them, which prompts a nice little comment from Picard about aiming for his head, due to the fact that he is a solid uranium heart. This is obviously because Picard has an artificial heart, and that's explained in the next generation. Tapestry, a great episode, go watch it. Now, Soji and Kestra's conversation as they walked to the Rikers house was great, as we learn more about Soji's current emotional state, which, as anyone could imagine, is kind of broken right now given what she's been through. Especially even more when Kestra asks Soji if she is an android and related to Data. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for turned out to be an emotional one. The reunion of Picard, Riker and Troi, just like the old days back on board the Enterprise. Honestly, the dynamic between these characters and the emotion they all evoke together hasn't changed in my opinion. You really get a sense of how well these people behind these characters understand the roles they're playing and how they work together, which probably becomes natural after working together for so long. Deanna Troi is the first to meet Picard as he comes walking around the corner towards her. Honestly, the raw emotion and the glee at seeing these two back on the screens was fantastic, combined with the musical tones. This scene really turned out really well for me. Given that Deanna Troi is a Betazoid, she could sense the emotion and feelings in an individual, so she really knows how Picard feels, especially when she begins to question him even more, prompting Picard to respond with, I'm fine, a couple of times. Riker is up next, and his intro is funny, as it almost feels like Jonathan Frakes is now essentially William Riker by default. The Hello Will part is great. Honestly, having these characters back once again is just so great in my opinion. Say what you want, but this is fantastic. Riker does indeed deliver this great line on what it's about working with Romulans by saying, so you want to be ass deep in Romulans for the rest of your life? It kind of sticks out really well, and it's kind of true to be honest. The modern Rikers is very interesting. While technically they're no longer a part of Starfleet, having retired to Nepenthe when their first child, Thaddeus Riker, fell ill, Riker does drop a line at the end that he's still an active reserve. This line is interesting, as it does not add anything to the overall story, yet tells the viewers that William T. Riker could be recalled into Starfleet at a moment's notice, if the situation demanded it. Could we see Riker back on board a starship as captain? I hope so, as sadly we did not get any mention of the USS Titan in this episode. A little bit disappointing for us starship nerds over here at TC, but oh well. Now what is interesting is we can clearly see how affected the Rikers are by the passing of their first child and only son, Thaddeus Riker, who is named after William Riker's great ancestor. Obviously this would affect them greatly, but you can clearly see the emotion they're still channeling around it, especially on how protective they both are of their daughter, Kestra. Deanna briefly talks about Thad, which was his nickname, and how he loved to speak invented languages. There's also this great picture of Picard in his Admiral's uniform meeting young Thad for the second time. We do learn that by the time of Starship Picard in 2399, we learn that it would have been Thad's 18th birthday. It's very sad and tragic that Rikers did lose their first child. Now what I would say is great writing is how we learn so much about Thad, even though he's passed. The character's not on a screen, but we do learn a lot about him, mainly in how he invented 12 languages which his family continue to speak to the day, with Kestra speaking in many of them, including Vivine. Thad ultimately died due to the correct medical solution being unavailable due to the synthetic ban. Here we really see how the galaxy affected everyone as a whole. The synthetic ban didn't just affect synthetic life forms, it affected people who rely on that technology for medical solutions as well, so you can see there is an overarching effect on nearly everyone. I really have to commend Kestra's actress, Lulu Wilson, on breathing unique and active life into this character. For a new character who only appears in one episode so far, she really had a big challenge to be unique and stand out, I feel, rather than just being a background character. Here she pulled it off really well, and really made a large impact on the viewers, which we really liked. Kestra connects with Soji very well, as any curious child would. Most of her initial questions revolve around how Soji would compare to Data, with things like does she like Sherlock Holmes, does she play the violin, and much more. All of this connects to Data in some way, and if you've watched The Next Generation before, you know exactly how. Troy and Riker do teach Picard some little tips about parenting and what it's like to deal with someone who is like Soji, especially what she's gone through his very traumatic experience in the last 48 hours. The comments about how Picard deals with tasks may seem very straightforward and a bit arrogant from the Rikers, but they are correct at the end of the day. I guess it's kind of weird because typically after watching The Next Generation as its subsequent movies, we wouldn't see the Rikers talking like this to Captain Picard, or Admiral Picard in this case. Here, while there's no uniform attached and none of them are part of Starfleet anymore, they can talk to him however they want, but ultimately they do respect him as their former leader and also one of their great friends. There's also a certain scene I really like of Riker and how he picks up on Soji's android traits and connects them with Data straight away. He makes a connection and correctly speculates on what he thinks Picard is involved with. Obviously this does end up correct, as he states she is clearly an android related to Data, with a resemblance of the head tilt which many viewers also picked up on as well. Moving back to the Borg cube, I need to talk about Hugh. The character of Hugh had some great scenes in this episode, and also that kind of tragic one which we'll talk about in a moment. Following Hugh's involvement in helping Picard and Soji escape the Borg cube, Narissa is not very happy and sadly executes some of his ex-B companions, which is very tragic and clearly affects Hugh as they essentially are his family. This move by Narissa throws into motion what some of us, including myself and many of you, were expecting, a Borg revolt. After Eleanor, who is still in the cube, comes to Hugh's aid, the pair hatch a plan to return to the Queen Cell and activate the Borg cube due to the immense power that's contained there. It's not massively clear what the purpose of this is, but it does say something's going to happen. We'll have to look to episode 8 for more. Sadly, Narissa is listening, leading to a fight to break out, resulting in Hugh's apparent death. While the scene was very emotional for many of us, as Hugh's been a very cool character in the Star Trek universe, I personally do not feel his death meant much. Don't get me wrong, it's very tragic and very sad, and I almost shed a tear at this. However, to go out via knife to the throat just felt slightly underwhelming. If he was killed while activating the cube, and his last act was to free his people, I personally would have found that more interesting, and his death would have meant more to me. However, here it did not. Now I have a feeling something else might come out of this for a moment. I really feel like we haven't seen the last of Hugh, and I do praise Jonathan Del Arco for his portrayal of Hugh in Star Trek Picard. Returning and breathing fresh life into his character was fantastic, and I really do hope there is more to his death than it initially looks. Either way, we'll need to wait and see. Now speaking about Eleanor, he finally got some more action in this episode, delivering his killer line of choosing to live once again. Though his fight scenes were awesome, I did expect a little more from him. I will say though, when La Serena left him behind, it was kind of emotional in a way. We've only just known Eleanor for about 4 episodes right now, and strangely I already find myself attached to the character. The inclusion of a series main theme as the ship left the cube was a nice touch and further sent home a feeling of emotion towards leaving Eleanor behind. It's as if La Serena's crew was saying goodbye to him for good, but I really hope not. Though at the end of this episode, or at least the Borg Q segment, we see that Eleanor has found and activated a Fenris Ranger's calling card, or an SOS. To me, this is a plain obvious sign that Joey Ryan will be back as 7 of 9 very soon, and I hope so, because we all need more badass 7 of 9 scenes. Seeing 7 of 9 and Eleanor fight their way of a Borg cube that's been reactivated might be impressive and what we just need to see. Mark my words, as this episode indicated, something is going to happen on that Borg cube and I'm for all it. I really want it, to be honest, and I know how many of you have also mentioned so. Let's just get some assimilation back up, come on now. Narek does continue to be a pain in the backside in this episode, all with a very reduced role of just being in a starship chasing La Serena. Though Rios does try to throw him off the scent of La Serena, it's actually Jarate putting herself into a coma, which to say was the tracker that Narek was following. The scenes on La Serena are very interesting in this episode, as we see how the crew dynamic is working well. Raffi and Chris really trust each other, though I get the impression they're not overly keen on Jarate, rightly so as well, as she actually is a spy. Rios at one point does pull Jarate to one side and question on whether Raffi could potentially be a spy on board the ship, leaking the ship's position to the Romulans, hence why Narek keeps following. This is ironic to us viewers, as Jarate is the actual spy and does try to tell Rios, but does not get the point across as he's distracted by something else. Whether this will blow up in Rios' face later on remains to be seen, and I expect episode 8 will tell us more. How Narek will catch up to our crew again remains to be seen, so I think it will come down to Jarate's status in my opinion. The episode ultimately ends on a high note. The Rikers say goodbye to Jean-Luc and Soji as they beam up to La Serena to continue their adventures in the final frontier. We've only got 3 episodes left now, so the story is certainly going to accelerate from here on out. Overall, this episode was brilliant, a very nice blend of carefully incorporating the legacy characters of the Rikers with a modern cast of a series as well as the plot. William Riker and Deanna Troi aren't just in this series for wow factor, they do indeed fit and complement the series well. These are the people that Picard would turn to in his hour of need, so it does make sense. Thanks to the episode's flashback scene, we learn that Picard's adventure has been going for almost a month now. 3 weeks ago is when Commodore O met with Jarate for the first time. It's a nice little date with the series, as it's just been going for over a month itself. Riker and Troi do allude to Picard's health condition and, his possible syndromes as mentioned in episode 2 by Dr. Benyun. This is now the second time this has been brought up, so we'll have to keep an eye if this is actually turning out to be mentioned again. Now remember, if you want to take part in our extended discussion of Star Trek Picard Episode 7, tune into our weekly livestream on Sundays at 9 PM GMT, right here on the Trek Central YouTube channel. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. That's it from us here on Trek Central for today. If you want to keep up to date on all things Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to subscribe to Trek Central here on YouTube. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates, visit our website, or even join our brand new community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.